Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Today we're recapping a really awesome movie. Young ones friends, there is a world where people are craving every single drop of water. They are forced to carry out their daily work without water. How can they even do it when they don't have enough water to drink? But as always, the same thing happens. No matter how much shortage there is in the world, the rich never suffer. Whatever problem may come, they don't face difficulties. The same situation is here as well. Big private companies have set up machines to extract water from underground because there are still some places where water can be drawn from beneath the earth. This extracted water is supplied to the cities where the rich live, while the poor are forced to stay in villages. Among these poor people, the Holmes family also lives. In this family are the father Ernest, the mother Catherine, the elder daughter Mary, and the younger son Jerome. With great struggle, this family is surviving in the village. Ernest also owned a large piece of land where his father once did farming, but due to the lack of water, Ernest could not farm. He even appealed to the government, explaining that his land was still fertile and that if water could be supplied, crops would grow well. But no one trusted Ernest's words, so Ernest decided to dig the land himself. Maybe luck would favor him, maybe he would find water, and then his land would turn green again. And by selling his crops, he would be able to solve his family's water shortage. One day, in Ernest's field, where he was digging to get water, two thieves arrived to steal his machine. Ernest immediately rushed there with a gun. As soon as the thieves realized Ernest had arrived, they started pretending, saying, "We came from far away. If you could just give us some water, it would be your kindness." But in reality, the thieves, seeing the opportunity, pulled out the gun they had hidden to shoot Ernest. But Ernest was used to dealing with such thieves daily, so before they could shoot, he quickly fired his gun and killed them on the spot. Look friends, the situation had become so desperate that people were ready to kill each other just for water. Ernest checked his machine, but sadly realized that the little water that used to come out from there had now completely stopped. This meant he would have to dig another pit somewhere else and install a new machine to draw out water again. So, Ernest went with Jerome to the Watermen. Friends, the Watermen were a group of people who worked for private companies, installing big machines to extract water from underground and then supplying that water to the cities. In the same way, another man named Annan used to deliver liquor and food to the Watermen. He carried goods from the city loaded on his donkey and supplied them to these workers. Among the Watermen was also a man named Max, with whom Ernest became somewhat acquainted. Ernest told Max, "Look brother, you've started installing a big machine here. My farm is not far from here and it used to get water. But because of your machine, even the little water that used to reach my farm has now stopped. Can't you shift these big machines to another location?" Max replied, "That's not my job. If you want to talk, go to our boss." Ernest knew the boss wouldn't listen to him, so the poor man left with Jerome, disappointed to return home. But when a person's luck is bad, bad things don't take long to happen. And the same thing happens with Ernest. On the way, his donkey's foot gets injured after hitting a stone and he falls down. Because of the fall, one of his legs breaks. The poor donkey was already suffering from thirst, and now, with a broken leg, the pain became unbearable. To end his suffering, Ernest is forced to kill him there. What else could the poor man do? After this, he goes to an auction house where old robots are repaired and sold. Ernest had come to buy such a robot so that in the future it could handle the delivery work. At the auction, a man named Fell also comes to bid for the robot. But in the end, Ernest wins and takes the robot. Ernest and Jerome feel very happy that at least they got something useful. After this, both of them go to the hospital where Catherine lives. Some time ago, Catherine had been in an accident and was unable to walk, so she is kept in the hospital with the help of wires, mechanical wires that support her movement. Ernest doesn't have enough money to buy such a system and bring it home, so he and the family visit Catherine in the hospital itself. Outside the hospital, Ernest meets a man named Bobby. He is a close friend of Ernest, but he has no house to live in and is also mentally weak. Still, Ernest gives whatever little water he has to Bobby and his family. Even though Ernest himself is short of water, he has a kind heart. Soon after Ernest returns home, Fell comes to him and says, "I want your robot for some important work." But Ernest knows that Fell is a #1 crook and would never return the robot. That's why Ernest refuses to give it to him. Here friends, let me also tell you that Fell and Ernest's daughter Mary are having an affair. Ernest has explained to Mary many times to stay away from Fell because he is not a good person. But Mary doesn't listen. Because of Fell, she has even started hating her father. Friends, parents are never wrong. And when children don't listen, bad things happen to them. Maybe something bad will happen to Mary too. In the next scene, Ernest is digging a hole at another place, hoping that water may come out. But because of the big company pipelines, the whole area had gone dry and Ernest is left disappointed again. While digging, Ernest talks to Jerome. He says, "When I went to the city, I saw a girl with short hair who was very beautiful. Son, you've grown up. If you want, I'll talk to her for you. I don't know how long we'll survive like this, so whatever time we have left, we should live it well." Father and son share this moment together and spend some good time with each other. After this, when Ernest returns home, Mary says, "Papa, I need money. I'm going with Fel. I feel suffocated here." Ernest replies, "I raised you from childhood, gave you everything I could, and still you are talking like this?" Mary answers, "We are not living here, Papa. We are only surviving, and I don't want this kind of life." Even after trying to explain, Mary doesn't agree. So Ernest locks her in the room and nails the window shut so she cannot meet Fel. As Ernest prepares to go to the city for supplies, he realizes that the robot is missing. Seeing this, he feels shattered and deeply worried. He knows this is none other than Fel's doing. He immediately goes to the watermen to ask if Fel had come there, but as soon as he arrives, Max and the other watermen attack Ernest and start beating him badly. They accuse him, saying, "You stole our supplies, that was our hard-earned money, and you must have sold it somewhere else." Ernest replies, "What are you saying? I only came here to ask whether my robot came here or not, but instead, you're beating me." Here, Ernest realizes the truth, that it was surely Fel who had stolen the supplies from the city and taken them elsewhere. So, Ernest somehow escapes from the watermen and goes searching for Fel. He finds him and confirms his suspicion. Fel was the one who stole the supplies and was living comfortably from them. Ernest then holds Fel at gunpoint and drags him to the watermen to prove that Fel was the thief, not him. As they moved forward, both of them were exhausted. Ernest was the most worn out, and on top of that, he had run out of water. Seeing this, Phelim tried to trick him, saying that he had drunk some of the liquor from the supplies and there was still a little left. "If you agree, let's share it and drink. Worst case, what will the watermen do? They'll kill me, but if we don't drink, we'll definitely die of thirst." Ernest agreed, but the moment he felt relieved, Phelim freed himself from the ropes and attacked Ernest. Poor Ernest was already weak, and after the beating, he started bleeding heavily. After that, Phelim forcefully poured the rest of the liquor into Ernest's mouth. He wanted the watermen to believe that Ernest had stolen their supplies and drunk all the liquor. Not only that, Phelim then beat Ernest to death and tied his body up with the robot. He wanted everyone to think that the robot had malfunctioned and killed Ernest. And that's exactly what happened. Poor Ernest lost his life, and people believed it was the robot's fault. Friends, why is it that bad things always happen to good people? In the next scene, Jerome is heartbroken after losing his father. In his grief, he vents all his anger on the robot, trying to destroy it, because at that moment, he believed the robot had killed his father. But we all know the truth. Then Phelim shows up and tells Jerome, "What's the point of breaking the robot? It'll be useful to us in the future. Don't break it. Don't worry, I'm here. I'll take care of you like family." Tell me, friends, how strange it is. The murderer pretending to be a savior. Later, Phelim goes to Max and says he needs a water pipeline so he can farm on Ernest's land. Max refuses, saying, "Am I your servant? Why should I do whatever you say?" But Phelim pressures him. He shows him a knife and says, "Do you remember this? When Ernest attacked you during the supply run, he took this knife from you. I found it near his body with your name still carved on it. Everyone knows there was a fight between you two the night before he died. So what should I think? That you killed Ernest and then blamed the robot?" Terrified, Max agrees and secretly sets up a pipeline on Ernest's land, hiding it from the company. With water flowing again, farming restarts, and soon crops begin to grow. Jerome and the others are overjoyed. Meanwhile, Phelim and Mary's relationship deepens. Mary becomes pregnant, and the two get married. Phelim is happy, but deep inside he knows all of this. Mary, the farm, the happiness, once belonged to Ernest, the man he betrayed and destroyed. But the story doesn't end here. Soon, bank employees arrive and shock Phelim. They tell him that since Ernest had cultivated the land and died, the land legally belongs to the bank. The crops harvested also belong to them. Phelim is furious. "No, this can't happen. You should have told me earlier, before the crops were grown, then I would have found some other land." But the bankers don't care. They say, "If you don't pay up within a week, the land will be seized." Phelim, already frustrated, blames Ernest even after his death. "That beggar tricked me and left me ruined." Now desperate for money, he tells Jerome he is going to sell the robot to pay the bank loan. But friends, Phelim was never an honest man. Instead, he goes to Robbie, who trusted him deeply. On the pretext of arranging water and help, he takes Robbie and his child along. But instead of helping, Phelim cruelly sells Robbie's child to get money for the bankers. When Robbie learns the truth, he confronts Phelim. But the place where the child had been sold was dangerous. Once a deal was made, it could never be broken. The men there shoot and kill Robbie on the spot. They even try to shoot Phelim, thinking he was part of the deal. Somehow, Phelim escapes with his life, leaving the robot behind. Later, he returns to Jerome and lies, saying that the money came not from selling Robbie's child, but from selling the robot. Friends, What a terrible man Phelim is. That's why Ernest refused to let his daughter Mary live with him. Later, because of the money he paid to the bank, the land ended up in Phelim's hands again. At the same time, the robot began moving back toward its original owner. When the villains were shooting at Phelim and Robbie, some bullets had hit the robot, triggering its default setting. That's why it was heading back to its city owner, a man named Kelvin. Kelvin was shocked to see the robot. "Whose robot is this? It turned around and came back to me," he exclaimed. Ernest's name was on it, so Kelvin tried to contact Ernest via radio so he could retrieve it. Jerome was completely surprised when he heard Kelvin on the radio. Phelim had claimed he gave the robot a badge, but now Kelvin had it. Jerome decided, if Kelvin wants to return the robot, that's great. I'll go get it. Meanwhile, Jerome noticed Robbie's wife waiting sadly with a doll, hoping for Robbie and her child to return. Seeing her despair, Jerome suspected Phelim was hiding something. He tried to go into the city, but being under 18, the guards wouldn't let him in. Then a girl named Anna appeared, offering to help him sneak in for a small fee. Jerome was stunned. She looked exactly like the girl Ernest had described with short hair. With Anna's help, Jerome hid in a luggage train heading to the city. Once there, he met Kelvin, who returned the repaired robot to him. The robot had a built-in camera that recorded everything using a laser beam. While reviewing the footage, Jerome saw precious moments he had shared with Ernest, and, horrifyingly, he also saw Phelim killing Ernest and tying him up. Jerome was shocked. His father's death had not been an accident. It was a calculated plot. Jerome returned home with the robot, but kept the truth from Mary. Since she was pregnant, he didn't want her to discover Phelim's actions and be devastated. Jerome cleverly wrote a letter that looked like it came from Robbie, luring Phelim back to the place where he had killed Ernest. When Phelim arrived, he didn't notice a pit and fell into the same trap where he had previously injured his leg. As he screamed, Jerome appeared with a gun. Realizing Jerome knew everything, Phelim pleaded, "Look, I'm ashamed of what I did. Forgive me, but I've always cared for Mary and you. Let me go. Mary would never survive this pain." Jerome ignored him, destroyed the robot, and erased its memory to ensure Mary would never learn the truth. A few days later, Mary was distraught because Phelim hadn't returned. Jerome told her the truth. Phelim was never a good person and had abandoned her. Heartbroken, Mary lost all love for him and began to hate him. Jerome and Mary then focused on rebuilding their lives. They took over the farm, planning to sell the crops to raise enough money to bring their mother home from the hospital. And with that, friends, the story comes to a close. If you enjoyed this, like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one, and thanks for watching.